They say the universe whispers its secrets to those who listen. I just wish it hadn't chosen me to hear the screams of dying stars. It wasn't a sound, not really. More like a void. A sickening absence where light and energy should have been replaced by an unsettling, all-consuming nothingness. It started subtly, a flicker at the edge of my deeply customized, long-range telescopic array, a star designated LX492, simply gone. Vanished. Not supernova, no residual nebula. Just absent. At first I dismissed it. An instrument malfunction, maybe, cosmic dust obscuring the readings, anything but the truth, because the truth was impossible. Stars don't just blink out, but then another went dark, and another. All in the same remote sector, a region so distant it was practically the edge of observable reality. That's when the whispers turned into a roar, a chilling silence that echoed in the data, in my bones, everywhere, except the one place it should have been. Of course, no one believed me. Dr. Thorne, they'd said, the pity heavy in their voices, the same pity they'd drowned me in years ago after the incident. You're seeing things, stress. Obsession. They relegated me to this desolate outpost, monitoring background radiation, a cosmic janitor sweeping up the universe's leftovers. A fitting punishment, I suppose, for a man who dared to reach too far, too fast. My official title was Lead Researcher, Remote Observation Post-Delta. But everyone, including me, knew it was exile, a place to keep me out of trouble, out of sight, out of the real science. But this wasn't a localized anomaly, a flicker in spacetime I could be blamed for. This was something else, something vast and terrifying, and it was growing. The official channels ignored my reports, dismissed my frantic warnings, until they arrived. It wasn't a fleet, not a dramatic entrance with shimmering lights and grand pronouncements. Just a single vessel appearing on the fringes of our solar system, almost invisible against the backdrop of the void. It was organic. That was the only way I could describe it. A colossal, bioluminescent structure, like a deep-sea creature adrift in the cosmic ocean, and it was dying. The derelict, a colossal bone-white structure, pulsed with a faint, sickly green light, its surface marred by what looked like scars, not the clean scorch marks of weapons fire, but something deeper, like a disease eating away at its very being. That's when Commander Valerius finally contacted me. His face, usually a mask of impassive authority, was etched with a barely concealed anxiety. Even he couldn't ignore a derelict alien vessel the size of a small moon appearing on our doorstep. Especially one that seemed to be actively decaying. "Thorne," he said, his voice clipped and tight, bypassing the usual pleasantries, not that we ever had any. "We need your expertise." He almost choked on the word expertise, the very thing they'd stripped me of. I looked at him, the ghost of a bitter smile playing on my lips. Expertise in what, Commander? Failing spectacularly, creating cosmic anomalies. He ignored the jab. Exotic matter, unstable energy signatures, that was your specialty, wasn't it? Specialty, another carefully chosen word. They needed the man they'd broken, the pariah they'd cast out. The irony wasn't lost on me. "What makes you think this involves?" "My area of expertise?" I asked, even though I already knew. The void, the dying stars, it all pointed to one horrifying conclusion. Valerius hesitated, a flicker of something almost like fear in his eyes. "The vessel, it's radiating something we can't identify, something that disrupts our instruments, makes them lie." Makes them lie, that was a polite way of putting it. Reality itself was fraying around that ship. I felt a cold knot forming in my stomach. This was it. The thing I'd dreaded, the thing I'd tried to warn them about. And now it was here. "I'll need full access," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "To the vessel, to your data, to everything." Valerius nodded, the relief evident. "You have it, just find out what it is, Thorne, and stop it." Stop it, as if I could, as if anyone could. We took a shuttle, a cramped, utilitarian thing designed for short hops, not interstellar encounters. As we approached the alien vessel, the Etherium, as we later learned it was called, the air itself seemed to thicken, to resist our passage. My instruments, even the ones I'd painstakingly shielded, flickered erratically, displaying impossible readings. The docking procedure was unsettling. The Etherium didn't have an airlock, not in any conventional sense. Instead, a section of its hull simply dissolved, revealing a pulsating organic membrane that enveloped our shuttle like a living thing. Inside it was beautiful and horrifying. The ship was a cathedral of bone-white structures, interwoven with veins of glowing green energy that pulsed with a slow, dying rhythm. The air was thick with a strange, sweet scent like decaying flowers and ozone, and everywhere there was a sense of loss. A profound, overwhelming sadness that permeated every molecule of the ship. Then we found her. She wasn't what I expected, not a monstrous alien, not a skeletal corpse. She was light, a shimmering, ethereal form, vaguely humanoid but composed entirely of energy. Her voice, when she spoke, wasn't sound but a direct transmission to our minds, a symphony of thoughts and emotions. "Welcome, humans," she said, her voice a chorus of whispers. "I am Kylara, last of the Zelosians." She told us her story, a tale of a civilization that had mastered dimensional manipulation, that had danced between the very layers of reality. Until the void. A cosmic plague, she called it, that consumed energy, unraveled spacetime, and left nothing but emptiness in its wake. Her people, once so proud, so powerful, had been reduced to this. A single, dying being on a derelict ship, drifting through the void. And then she offered us their legacy, their last desperate creation. "We could not stop it," Kylara said, her light dimming, her form flickering. "But perhaps you can." She gestured with a movement that was both graceful and heartbreaking towards a device at the center of the chamber. It was intricate, a latticework of glowing energy, pulsating with a rhythm that seemed to defy the laws of physics. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly incomprehensible. "The Chrono Weave," she whispered, the effort seeming to drain the last of her strength. "It manipulates spacetime itself too, unstable for us, but you, humans, you are different. Different, reckless, desperate, willing to grasp at straws even if those straws were woven from the fabric of reality itself." As Kylara faded, her light dissolving into the ship's mournful glow, she uttered one final warning, a plea that echoed in the sudden, absolute silence. "The void accelerates, the galaxy has little time." And then she was gone. We were alone, in the heart of a dying alien ship, with a device that could either save us or destroy everything. And then it happened. The Chrono Weave, untouched, unbidden, activated. A wave of energy surged through the chamber, and for a fleeting, terrifying moment I saw it. A glimpse of the future. A galaxy consumed by darkness, stars winking out like candles in a storm, and humanity gone, erased. The vision vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving me shaking, breathless, and utterly, irrevocably terrified. The silence in the Etherium was heavier now, a suffocating blanket woven with the echoes of Kylara's final warning and the phantom vision of a devoured galaxy. The Chrono Weave hummed before me, a chaotic symphony of light and energy that seemed to mock my understanding of physics. It was, without a doubt, the most complex and terrifying piece of technology I'd ever encountered, and I'd once tried to build a miniature star in my basement. That ended poorly. Valerius, ever the pragmatist, broke the silence. "Report, Thorn, what is that thing?" "It's complicated," I said, running a hand through my already disheveled hair. I could feel the sweat trickling down my temples, a cold counterpoint to the unsettling warmth radiating from the device. "Kylara called it the Chrono Weave. It manipulates spacetime. Manipulates like time travel. One of the shuttle crew, a young lieutenant named Park, asked, his voice a mixture of awe and disbelief. I shook my head. Not exactly, more like rearranging it, or unarranging it in the case of the void. English Thorn, Valerius growled. Can it stop this void? Theoretically, yes, I said, my gaze fixed on the swirling patterns of energy within the chrono weave. But it's not a weapon, not in the conventional sense. It's more like a key to the underlying architecture of reality itself. That's when the memories hit me, a wave of nausea and regret crashing over me. The sterile white walls of the lab, the hum of the containment field, the excited chatter of my colleagues. And then the blinding flash, the deafening roar, and the sickening feeling of spacetime itself, ripping apart. I'd been trying to create stable exotic matter, a substance with negative mass energy density. The theory was sound, the mathematics elegant, but the execution catastrophic. A localized spacetime rupture, a tiny tear in the fabric of reality. It had sealed itself, but not before. Not before claiming the lives of everyone in the lab but me. They called it the Thorn Incident, a cautionary tale whispered in the hallowed halls of academia, a testament to the dangers of unchecked ambition, of reaching too far, too fast. Valerius was staring at me, his expression unreadable. You're remembering, aren't you? I didn't answer, I couldn't. The guilt, the shame, the sheer terror of that day. It was a constant companion, a shadow that clung to me like cosmic dust. This is different, I finally managed to say, my voice hoarse. This is bigger than anything I could have imagined, the void. It's not a natural phenomenon, Calera said. It was created. Created, Park asked, his eyes wide. By who? A long-dead civilization, I said, pulling up the data Calera had transferred to my datapad before she vanished. They were obsessed with energy efficiency. They sought to eliminate all waste, all entropy. They tried to achieve perfect order. Valerius frowned. Perfect order, what's wrong with that? Everything, I said, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. The universe. It needs chaos, it needs entropy. It's the engine that drives everything from the formation of stars to the evolution of life. These void architects, as I'm calling them, they tried to eliminate it. And in doing so, they created something monstrous, something that unravels the very fabric of existence. The chrono weave pulsed again, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. It was as if the device itself was trying to warn me, to show me the stakes. The chrono weave, it can't destroy the void, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. It can only rewind it, undo its effects, but it needs energy. A lot of energy, more than anything humanity currently possesses. Valerius's face hardened. Then we find it. We have fusion reactors, antimatter reserves. I shook my head. Not enough, not even close. We need something. Orders of magnitude more powerful, something singular. A terrifying thought, a spark of desperate inspiration ignited in my mind. A solution so audacious, so reckless that it was almost unthinkable. But it was the only chance we had. A singularity, I said, the word hanging in the air like a death sentence. The heart of a collapsed star, a black hole. Valerius stared at me, his face a mask of disbelief. You're proposing we, what, fly into a black hole? Not into it, I corrected, my mind racing, calculating, desperately trying to find a flaw in my own insane logic. But close enough to extract energy from its gravitational field, from the accretion disk. The silence that followed was broken only by the hum of the chrono weave, a constant, unsettling reminder of the cosmic horror we faced. I knew what they were thinking, that I was mad, that the exile, the guilt, the years of isolation had finally broken me. But I also knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that I was right. It's suicide, Thorn, Valerius finally said, his voice flat. Utter, complete suicide. Maybe, I said, meeting his gaze. But it's also our only hope. The void is accelerating. We don't have time for debate, for committees, for for anything but action. I looked at the chrono weave, at the swirling, chaotic energy that held the key to our survival. It was a gamble, a desperate throw of the dice. But it was a gamble we had to take, because the alternative was oblivion. Back on Earth, the reaction to my proposal was predictable. A mixture of stunned silence, outright ridicule, and the kind of thinly veiled contempt I'd grown accustomed to over the years. Valerius, to his credit, didn't dismiss me out of hand. He listened, his face a granite mask, while I laid out the theoretical framework, the calculations, the sheer, desperate logic of it all. A singularity, I explained, projecting holographic models of a black hole's accretion disk, a swirling vortex of superheated matter spiraling towards the event horizon. It's the most potent energy source in the known universe. The gravitational forces alone, they warp spacetime itself. If we can tap into that energy, even for a fraction of a second, it might be enough to power the chrono weave. And how, pray tell, do you propose we tap into a black hole, Dr. Thorne? This from General Petrov, head of the Global Defense Initiative, a man whose skepticism towards me was legendary. Last I checked, anything that crosses the event horizon is, well, gone. We don't cross it, I said, my voice firm despite the tremor of fear that ran through me. We skim it. We use a modified version of the Etherium's drive, its ability to interact with spacetime on a fundamental level. We create a localized distortion, a gravitational slingshot that allows us to extract energy from the accretion disk without getting pulled in. A slingshot, Petrov repeated, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Around a black hole, have you completely lost your mind, Thorne? Possibly, I admitted, but has anyone else got a better idea? The silence that followed was my answer. The reports of the void's expansion were coming in faster now, entire star systems blinking out of existence, the darkness spreading like a malignant tumor across the galactic map. We were running out of time. Valerius, after a long, agonizing pause, finally spoke. What are the risks? Catastrophic, I said bluntly. If we miscalculate, if the containment field fails, if the chrono weave overloads, we could be crushed by the gravitational forces, ripped apart at the atomic level, or worse. We could trigger a chain reaction, accelerate the void's expansion. So it's either a slow death by cosmic nothingness or a quick one by, well, cosmic everythingness, Valerius summarized, a grim humor flickering in his eyes. Essentially, yes, I agreed. And you're volunteering for this mission? I nodded. It's my responsibility. I understand the chrono weave better than anyone, and I have something to prove. He studied me for a long moment, then let out a sigh. All right, Thorne, you have your green light, but if you screw this up. I know, I finished for him. I'll be more than just a disgraced scientist. I'll be a footnote in the history of a dead galaxy. The construction of the Valkyrie, as the new vessel was christened, was a frantic race against time. We cannibalized technology from the Etherium, combining its bioorganic structure with human engineering, creating a hybrid vessel capable of withstanding the extreme conditions near a black hole. The core of the ship was a modified version of the Zalosian drive, enhanced with human-designed shielding and control systems. It was a Frankensteinian creation, a testament to our desperation and ingenuity. The crew was a mix of volunteers and, well, let's just say persuaded experts, scientists, engineers, pilots, and a surprisingly large number of therapists, presumably to help us cope with the sheer existential terror of the mission. I spent every waking moment immersed in the data, refining the calculations, running simulations, trying to minimize the risks. But the truth was, we were venturing into the unknown, armed with nothing but theories and a healthy dose of blind faith. The launch was subdued. No cheering crowds, no patriotic speeches, just a quiet, grim determination. As the Valkyrie lifted off, leaving the familiar blue of Earth behind, I couldn't help but feel a pang of something, regret, fear. Or maybe hope. The journey to the designated black hole, a relatively small but active one located in a neighboring star system, took weeks. Weeks of cramped quarters, recycled air, and the constant, gnawing anxiety of what lay ahead. The closer we got, the more pronounced the effects became. Time dilation, gravitational distortions, the eerie feeling of reality itself bending around us. My instruments, even the ones I'd modified based on Zelosian technology, struggled to cope. Readings fluctuated wildly, displaying impossible values. The universe, it seemed, was actively trying to discourage us. And then we saw it. It wasn't a black circle, not really. It was an absence. A region of space where light itself couldn't escape, surrounded by a swirling maelstrom of superheated plasma, the accretion disk, a cosmic whirlpool of unimaginable energy. But it wasn't the black hole itself that caught my attention. It was what was orbiting it. A structure, vast, impossibly complex, a shimmering web of interconnected rings and spheres encompassing the entire black hole. A Dyson sphere. "What is that?" Valerius asked, his voice hushed with awe and a touch of terror. It's a Dyson sphere," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "A megastructure designed to harness the entire energy output of a star, or in this case, a black hole." The implications were staggering. The void architects, the civilization that had created the cosmic plague. They hadn't just been seeking energy efficiency. They had been playing with forces beyond human comprehension. "They built this," I said, my voice filled with a mixture of horror and morbid fascination. "They built this to contain the void, to slow its spread." "And it failed," Valerius finished, his gaze fixed on the colossal structure. "It's failing," I corrected, "but it's still functioning somehow." The Dyson sphere was a chilling testament to the void architect's ambition and their ultimate failure. It was a warning etched in the very fabric of spacetime. A warning that we, in our desperate attempt to save the galaxy, were about to ignore, because we had no other choice. The Dyson sphere was silent, a tomb of unimaginable scale, a monument to a civilization that had reached for the stars and in doing so had unleashed a cosmic horror. We approached cautiously, the Valkyrie's shields at maximum, every sensor strained to its limit, searching for any sign of life, any hint of what had become of the void architects. There was nothing. No energy signatures, no transmissions, no movement. Just the cold, sterile perfection of the megastructure, a web of interlocking panels and energy conduits that stretched for millions of kilometers, dwarfing even the black hole at its center. "It's empty," Lieutenant Park said, his voice a hushed whisper, echoing the awe and unease we all felt. "Like a ghost town the size of a solar system." "Not entirely," I corrected, my gaze fixed on a faint, rhythmic pulse emanating from the very core of the sphere near the black hole itself. "There's something, down there, something, alive." Valerius frowned. Alive after all this time, what could possibly survive in this graveyard? "I don't know," I admitted, "but whatever it is, it's connected to the Dyson sphere and, I think, to the void itself." We decided to investigate. It was a risk, a colossal one, but staying put wasn't an option. The void was still out there, still spreading, and the chrono weave was our only hope. We had to understand what the void architects had done, how they had tried to contain the plague they had unleashed, and most importantly, how their efforts had failed. We used the Valkyrie's modified Zelosian drive to navigate the intricate network of the Dyson sphere, carefully avoiding the massive energy conduits that pulsed with a power that could vaporize us in an instant. The scale of the structure was overwhelming, a testament to the sheer engineering prowess of a civilization that had mastered energies beyond our comprehension. As we approached the core, the rhythmic pulse grew stronger, accompanied by a faint, almost imperceptible hum. It was a sound that resonated not in our ears, but in our very bones, a vibration that seemed to tap into the fundamental frequencies of the universe. And then we found it. In a vast chamber at the heart of the Dyson sphere, suspended in a field of shimmering energy, was a single being. Not organic, not energy, but something in between. A creature of solidified spacetime, its form constantly shifting, flickering, like a holographic projection struggling to maintain its coherence. It was humanoid vaguely, but its limbs were elongated, its features distorted, its eyes empty voids blacker than the black hole itself. It was surrounded by a network of intricate devices, humming with the same rhythmic pulse we detected earlier, devices that seemed to be both drawing energy from the black hole and containing it. "What is that thing?" Valerius asked, his voice a mixture of horror and fascination. I think it's a Zorian," I said, my memory struggling to recall the fragmented data Kalara had shared. "A species, enslaved by the Void Architects, used as living conduits for their energy manipulation experiments." The Zorian turned its head, its empty eyes seeming to focus on us, and for a moment I felt a connection, a wave of profound sadness and resignation. It spoke not with sound, but with a direct mental projection, a voice that echoed in the deepest recesses of our minds. "Visitors," it said, its voice a chorus of whispers, a symphony of despair. "After so long, have you come to end it?" "End what?" I asked, my mind reeling from the sheer strangeness of the encounter. "The void, the Dyson sphere." "Everything," the Zorian replied. "The suffering, the endless cycle, the void, it cannot be stopped, only contained, and the containment is failing." It gestured with a slow, agonizing movement of its elongated arm towards the intricate devices surrounding it. "This is all that remains, a prison built by those who sought to control what cannot be controlled." "The Void Architects," I said, understanding dawning. "They weren't trying to create unlimited energy. They were trying to control the fundamental forces of the universe, to eliminate entropy, to impose perfect order." The Zorian nodded, its form flickering. "Order is an illusion, chaos is the natural state. They sought to defy the balance, and in doing so, they unleashed the unmaking." "The Corona weave," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "We have a device that can manipulate spacetime. We were hoping to use it to rewind the void's effects, to undo its creation." The Zorian's empty eyes seemed to widen, a flicker of something almost like hope crossing its distorted features. "Rewind, undo, is it possible?" "We don't know," I admitted. "But we have to try. We need to extract energy from the black hole, from the Dyson sphere, to power the device." The Zorian hesitated, its form flickering more violently. "Dangerous. The sphere is unstable. The energies contained here are beyond your comprehension. To activate your device within this structure, it could trigger a catastrophic chain reaction." "A chain reaction?" Valerius asked, his voice sharp. "What kind of chain reaction?" "Two possibilities," the Zorian replied, its voice growing weaker. "Either the sphere will collapse, releasing the contained energy and accelerating the void's expansion, or it will overload, creating a new singularity, consuming everything within its reach." A gamble, a choice between two apocalyptic scenarios, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. "There's no other way?" I asked, desperately searching for an alternative, for a solution that didn't involve risking everything on a single desperate throw of the dice. The Zorian shook its head, its form dimming, its voice fading. "The void is relentless. It consumes, it adapts. It learns there is only one chance to undo what was done, to reweave the fabric of time before it is too late." Its voice trailed off, its form flickering one last time before dissolving into nothingness, leaving us alone in the vast, silent chamber, surrounded by the humming machinery of a dead civilization and the terrifying power of a black hole. The choice was ours, and the clock was ticking. The Zorian's warning echoed in the silence of the Dyson sphere's core, a chilling counterpoint to the hum of the ancient machinery. Two choices, both catastrophic. Either unleash the contained energy of the black hole, accelerating the void's expansion and consuming the galaxy even faster, or trigger a new singularity, wiping out everything within reach, including us. Valerius, ever the soldier, was the first to speak. So, what's it going to be, Thorn? Option A or option B of cosmic annihilation? I closed my eyes, trying to shut out the overwhelming dread, the crushing weight of responsibility. I thought of Earth, of the billions of lives hanging in the balance, of the legacy of Kalara and the Xylosians, of my own past failures, and of the faint, flickering hope that still burned within me. And then it hit me. A realization, a spark of understanding gleaned from the Zorian's words, from Kalara's warnings, from the very architecture of the Chrono Weave itself. Neither, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. We're not going to rewind time, not entirely. That's not what the Chrono Weave is for. It's not a reset button, it's a scalpel. Valerius frowned. A scalpel, what are you talking about? The Void Architects, I explained, my mind racing, piecing together the fragmented knowledge I'd gathered. They didn't just create the void, they created it at a specific point in spacetime, a single catastrophic event, the Chrono Weave. It's not meant to undo everything. It's meant to target that specific event, to reweave that single thread in the fabric of reality. You mean go back and stop them? Park asked, his voice filled with a mixture of hope and disbelief. Not go back, I corrected. More like, unmake their mistake from here, from now. The Chrono Weave can manipulate spacetime across vast distances, across eons. We just need to find the right frequency, the right coordinates, the right moment. It was still a gamble, a colossal one. But it was a gamble with a chance, however slim, of success. A chance of not just delaying the inevitable, but of actually stopping the void, of saving the galaxy. With the faint memory of Zorian consciousness, now merged with the Dyson Sphere systems, I began to work. We recalibrated the Chrono Weave, focusing its energy not on the black hole itself, but on the spacetime coordinates of the void's creation, a point in the distant past, light years away. It was like trying to thread a needle in a hurricane. The Dyson Sphere was shaking, groaning under the strain of the contained energies, the encroaching void pressing in on us like a suffocating darkness. My instruments were screaming, displaying values that defied all known physics. Valerius and Park, despite their lack of scientific understanding, stood by my side, their faces grim, their hands steady on the controls, ready to execute my commands, to trust in my desperate last-ditch effort. The energy readings, they're off the charts, Park reported, his voice strained. The containment field, it's barely holding. We're close, I said, my hands flying over the Chrono Weave's controls, adjusting the intricate patterns of energy, searching for the precise resonance, the exact frequency that would unlock the fabric of spacetime. Just a little more. And then I found it. A flicker, a resonance, a moment of perfect alignment. The Chrono Weave pulsed, a blinding flash of light filling the chamber, and for a fleeting instant I felt it. A connection, a bridge across time and space to the moment of the void's creation. Now, I shouted, slamming my hand down on the activation control. The Chrono Weave unleashed its power, not as a destructive force, but as a surgeon's scalpel, a precise, targeted pulse of energy that rippled through the fabric of spacetime, reaching back to the distant past, to the moment of the Void Architect's catastrophic error. The Dyson Sphere shuddered violently, the containment field flickering, threatening to collapse. The chamber was filled with a deafening roar, a cacophony of energy and distortion. And then silence. The shaking stopped, the humming ceased. The Chrono Weave went dormant, its energy spent. We stood there, breathless, exhausted, uncertain of what had just happened. Had we succeeded, or had we simply sealed our own doom? Slowly, cautiously, we checked our instruments. The readings were normal. The gravitational distortions were gone. The time dilation effects had vanished. And then we looked outside. The Dyson sphere was changing. The shimmering web of interconnected rings and spheres was dissolving, not collapsing, not exploding, but unraveling, like a tapestry being carefully, meticulously unwoven. The black hole at the center remained, a silent, enigmatic presence, but the energy surrounding it, the swirling vortex of the accretion disk, was calming, stabilizing. It worked, Park whispered, his voice filled with awe. You did it, Thorn, you actually did it. Valerius let out a long, slow breath, the tension draining from his face. The void, it's gone. I checked the long-range sensors, scanning the sector of space where the dying stars had first alerted me to the threat. The stars, they were back, shining brightly, steadily, where once there had been only darkness. It's gone, I confirmed, a wave of relief, of exhaustion, of disbelief washing over me. We did it. But the victory was not without its cost. The Valkyrie, caught in the backlash of the Chrono Weave's activation, had been thrown clear of the Dyson sphere, but not without damage. Our shields were depleted, our engines were offline, and we were adrift, light years from home. We were stranded, but we were alive, and the galaxy was safe. It took weeks for a rescue team to reach us. Weeks of rationing supplies, of repairing the ship, of staring out at the star-filled void. A void that was no longer a threat, but a promise. When we finally returned to Earth, we were greeted not as exiles or madmen, but as heroes. The story of the Valkyrie, of the Chrono Weave, of the civilization that had almost destroyed everything in their pursuit of perfect order, spread like wildfire, a testament to human resilience, to our willingness to face the impossible, to embrace the unknown. I was no longer a disgraced scientist, a cautionary tale. I was something else, a survivor, a savior perhaps, or maybe, just a man who'd finally learned to listen not just to the whispers of the universe, but to the whispers of his own conscience. The Chrono Weave was secured, studied, its secrets slowly, carefully unveiled. It was a power that could reshape reality, a power that humanity now held, a power that we had to wield with wisdom, with humility, with a profound understanding of the delicate balance of the universe. My exile was over. I was offered positions, accolades, honors, but I turned them down. I had no desire for fame, for recognition. I had seen the face of oblivion, and it had changed me. Instead, I took a quiet position at a small observatory, far from the bustling cities, far from the centers of power. I looked up at the night sky, at the stars that had once seemed so distant, so uncaring, and I listened. Because the universe is always whispering. It whispers its secrets, its wonders, its terrors, and it whispers its warnings. We, humanity, had been given a second chance, a chance to learn from the mistakes of the past, to embrace the chaos, the uncertainty, the beautiful, terrifying messiness of existence. We were no longer just inhabitants of a small, fragile planet. We were guardians. Guardians of spacetime, entrusted with a power that could save or destroy. And as I looked up at the star-filled sky, I knew that our journey had just begun. The universe was vast, infinite, full of wonders and horrors beyond our wildest imaginings. And it was up to us, to humanity, to choose our path, to decide what kind of future we would create. The universe whispers its secrets, but it also whispers its warnings. It's up to us to listen to both, and perhaps to whisper back.